Aside from being beloved staples of 1990s pop culture, it might not sound like the Power Rangers and X-Files franchises are a natural fit for a crossover, but the case can be made that the iconic characters from both series could find common ground, and that a crossover story would benefit both. Comic books are a perfect medium for unexpected crossovers, and blending the worlds of X-Files and Power Rangers would be an engaging way for both franchises to capitalize on rampant 90s nostalgia. The Rangers franchise already has a strong comic book presence, including a number of crossover adventures, although X-Files may not be as prominent in the comics world as Rangers' decade-long run at Boom Studios. It can be justified as to why X-Files should be Power Rangers' next crossover. What would an X-Files crossover with Power Rangers look like? Ambitious, but not impossible. There are a number of ways the universes of the X-Files and the Power Rangers can merge together. Naturally, the story elements are entirely dependent on the writers and artists involved in the creative process, but as far as making sense of how two previously distant universes can come together, there are numerous options on the table. The simplest would be sending one set of heroes to the other's universe. This was the basis of Justice League Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, in which a battle gone awry teleports the Rangers and Lord Zed to the DC universe. Alternatively, it is also possible to revamp both worlds into one for a recontextualized world where both parties always coexisted, but never interacted. Boom Studios' new series, Power Rangers Prime, showcases an example of this, as a rebooted Rangerverse appoints the famous VR Troopers as this world's police force. In simpler terms, working with pre-existing main continuities, the TMNT X Naruto crossover solidified that New York City always existed in Naruto's universe. It is also worth noting that one of the few X-Files comics does establish a similar connection for the franchise existing in the same universe as Twin Peaks. Does the X-Files have a presence in the comic book genre? X-Files Comics History, Explained. Mulder talks to Scully about chupacabras in the X-Files Comics Digest No. 3. The idea of Power Rangers and the X-Files may feel particularly out there for some readers. This isn't because of the surprising combination of two unexpected franchises. Combining the unexpected is what makes the bulk of a crossover concept, after all, but because X-Files doesn't have as much of a dominant presence in the comic space. That being said, X-Files' place in comics isn't non-existent. There have been an array of X-Files comics over the years, most notably under the IDW banner. The publisher produced a canonical seasons 10 and 11 from 2013 to 2015, overseen by franchise creator Chris Carter. Because X-Files comics have been so inactive lately, it is hard to determine who owns the comics IP as of this moment. Fox, the company and channel that the X-Files was originally housed under, could simply be sitting on those rights with no immediate plans to touch on the franchise, on or off screen. Alternatively, since they were the last to do anything significant with the intellectual property in comic form, this could mean IDW still owns the comic publishing rights. Given IDW's track record with franchise IP, this could instill a glimmer of hope for X-Files' comic future. Power Rangers comics are already known for their ambitious crossovers. Power Rangers crossovers, Explained. The Power Rangers are certainly no stranger to crossovers. Power Rangers teaming up with teams from past seasons was, at one time, an annual tradition on screen. At the same time, Power Rangers has a habit of merging with some surprising franchises outside of their own, like when the Power Rangers in space met the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in the Shell-Shocked episode. Ever since Boom Studios began producing its Power Rangers line of comics, the franchise's crossover potential has only steadily increased over the last decade. The list of Power Rangers crossovers with other franchises is extensive. The Power Rangers have met with Usagi Yojimbo, joined forces with the Justice League to beat a major Superman villain, battled Godzilla, and even reunited with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, all in the confines of comics. The beauty of comic book crossovers is that they make the impossible all the more possible. On-screen crossovers tend to have their limitations to what can't be done between two franchises on-screen, but all such constrictions are thrown out the window in the comics realm. An X-Files crossover with Power Rangers could only ever happen in comics. Why would audiences want a Power Rangers X-Files crossover? Two 90s staples make one great series. David Duchovny and Gillian Anderson in The X-Files, Season 5. While comic books make it feasible for the X-Files to cross over with Power Rangers, it does not put into perspective why it should happen. Just because something can happen does not always mean it should, so it begs the question as to why Mulder and Scully should bother crossing paths with a crop of teenagers with attitudes. The answer is simple: it's the perfect way to celebrate the 90s. Power Rangers and the X-Files were both on opposite ends of pop culture. One was directed toward a children's demographic, while the other was aimed at adults.